Alright. Welcome to another edition of Hip Hop Rewind and Then Some. I'm your host, the moderator, the Xman, and my brother to my right is Supaears. And today's show, man, is part 3 of Prison Reform, and we have brothers Raheem and Tone, aka Kenneth Wilson and Anthony Leahy. What's up, brother?
Absolutely. Put the phone right on the mic, please.
I got it on there.
The bottom of where the mic is, where the speaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. You already know how it is, you know.
Just let me talk.
Yeah, just go ahead and talk real quick.
Yeah, brother.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about today, eh?
Yeah,
Hey, man. Prison. We're gonna talk about the. I lost my train of thought, man. Talk about the fines in prison and what they do with your commissaries, how much they take out and everything, man. That's what we was left off in our last conversation.
All right, well, I gotta put my brother Righteous out for that.
Okay.
He's about to come out right now. Then when I get out, we'll talk about the prison reform.
Gotcha.
We can talk about this. Hello. Yeah,
Peace.
This is Kenny Wilson.
What's up, brother?
Oh no, hey.
Hey, man, we good, man. We good, man. Hey.
Yeah, you said Juan there too?
Yeah, Juan's here too, bro.
What's going on, my guy? How you doing tonight?
What's good, man?
So you said you want to still cover some of that financial aspect of prison, right?
And right, what you guys trying to do the solution for the solution towards it?
Right. Well, I think like a lot of times in prison, you try to pick your battles. So what we're doing now, we're establishing ourselves as a credible program. So that way, when we do come at them on this tip, our ass won't be too big.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's very important that we first establish ourselves and develop our credibility with them. So when we come to them and ask them, because a lot of this stuff has to be done on the legislative level.
Right.
Nothing that the prison itself can do because they kind of like following their 10A, which is their administrative directive.
Right.
So it's not too much that really that internally that they can do about this particular issue. But I think the more that the public is informed about this, the more public pressure can be placed on the Department of Correction. And then they would take the initiative to try to come proactive in addressing some of these issues that we have.
Right.
Because like a lot of people really don't know is, like I think I was explaining to you last week, is when you're sending your loved ones money and things like that, you're thinking that they're getting the full total amount that you're sending them, but they're actually not. They're only receiving a portion of that money that's being sent to them.
Right.
So they're not actually getting all the money.
Right. You shot me with that one because I'm like, if I send someone $100, they're not getting the full $100.
They're not getting the full $100 if they have fines, because what they do is they level fines on us as a court-imposed fine. You might have your VTC fees, which is your violent compensation
Right.
fine. Then you may have Safe Street. You may have labs and all these things that don't really have nothing to do with your case per se.
Right.
They level these fines against you, I guess, to further their agenda. But when a lot of people think that when they send them money, they get their full amount, but not. There's just something like 33% of that money will go towards
33%, man.
Before they even see 1% of that.
That is too much. That's too much, man.
So if they're stressing for like commissary, for toiletries or cosmetics and things like that, they were waiting on that money to come in.
Right.
They may have a problem with as far as like their hygiene is concerned. So everything, a lot of people really don't know that there's a lot of things levied against inmates while they're in prison because it's ran like a business now. It's all about the bottom line. It's big business, and that's another thing like they won't tell y'all.
No.
You know, like in here, we may only change our clothes maybe every 6 months.
What?
Or something to that effect. Yeah, every 6 months.
Is that now because of COVID or is that just in general?
Well, what did Juan say?
I said, is that because of COVID or is that in general?
No, that's in general.
Wow.
They don't allow us to change our clothes. Even like when it comes down to our blankets and pillowcase exchange, we may do that every 6 months. They will take them and wash them.
You gotta be kidding me, man. You
Yeah,
gotta
That's
be
wild.
kidding me. That is, oh, dude.
yeah, it's a lot of things. We got to take our own initiative, so we may have to subcontract the guy that's working in the laundry and pay him
To clean your stuff.
probably take care of, to clean our clothes and things like that. So that's just another bill added on to what you need to get through this prison life thing that we do. But a lot of guys in here, they really don't know how to complain or how to address these kind of issues.
Right.
And when you're talking about their personal hygiene and being sanitary, because who sleeps on a sheet
For 6 months.
for 1 week? For 6 months or whatever, and don't allow us to change
Yeah.
our things like that. You know what I mean? So what they do is they take our sheets and stuff, because they used to give us brand new sheets when they take the old sheets. And
Right.
What they do is they kind of like recycle it through the laundry.
Wow.
So they can save money on that end. So like I said, it's all about that bottom line. They don't really care
How you
how
live.
it affects you personally,
Yeah.
how you live or how it affects you, because what happens is prison is more taxing the poor, because most of the people that are incarcerated are poor, indigent people.
Right.
So your family, they're out there struggling and they're trying to make ends meet, and then they're trying to scrape up a little money to sell little Johnny so he can have this thing, and then they couldn't find out little Johnny not getting all of that money, and
Wow.
they're not changing their sheets and all of this kind of stuff. Now he got to decide between getting toiletries, getting soap, and to call his parents, because our calls are a lot too. It just recently went down from probably like $6 to $8 per 15-minute call to now where they kind of like lowering in the rate, because we have to actually challenge that in the court as well to get that done.
So
We have very exuberant rates.
that's ridiculous. $8 for a 15-minute call.
For a 15-minute call, we was getting something like $6 per call, and I think that's when it went down a little bit, and it was like $8 per 15-minute call.
Right.
So now you got to think about, okay, well, if I'm only making $15 per month,
Right.
not a week, per month, and now a call is costing me $6. So now I got to decide, where am I going to call home, call my child, call my baby mother, call my mom, or am I going to buy me some soap?
Wow.
These are the dilemmas that we are facing in prison.
But may I ask you a question? Can anybody send you guys anything? Like, say, can your mom send you some soap, whatever? Or they can't? They don't do that no more.
At one time they were able to.
Right.
Now they stopped that under the guise of public safety. Safety, prison safety, saying that your family member may put something in there that you may not have. Now what they have, what they consider we are a captive audience. So meaning that unless you come to them, you can't have it. So
Wow.
if you want this, you have to go to them. They're like on some real gangster stuff.
Yeah, I see.
They kind of like cornered the market on the phones and on our kiosks. So they allow us, even with our kiosk system, they call it an email, but yet we have to purchase stamps in order to do an email. It's not free for us. Download the music. It's not free for us.
So basically, I'm saying real. I use email every day and I don't get charged for it, but they charge you guys for email. Like you send out a regular letter. They charge you like a postage price.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to buy, and you just can't buy one. You have to buy, I think in bulks or whatever, that they allow you like maybe $5. You may get 20 stamps or something like that. But then if you want to send videos out, that takes 2 stamps, so that's 80 cents to send out a video.
Wait. What do you mean a video?
You want to send a
You
video
do
out.
your phone?
The trick, the trick is they want you to think that they're about rehabilitation and things like that, but really it is not.
They're about profit,
about
man.
Rehabilitating. It's about profit.
That's all they care about.
Getting profit off the poor. That's what makes it even worse, because you're profiteering off the poor, people that already don't have money, and you're causing, telling them that in order for you to stay in touch with your loved one, you got to give me this amount of money in order to do this. So everything, it's just little things that we're kind of finding ourselves in a way where we're going to start addressing these kind of issues.
Right.
But like I said, we need to build up a more support system so that when we really start attacking these issues, it won't be no kind of backlash towards us.
Right.
Or addressing, and that's the ironic thing about it. We're trying to better our conditions, but then they look at us as being troublemakers.
Right. Like, how dare you?
You know what I mean? Things that our forefathers or civil rights leaders did, things like that, in order to acquire our rights to vote, acquire our rights to be equal and be treated fairly. When we start doing that, asking for that, they're saying, oh, you start a group demonstration, you riling up the people, and things of that nature.
Wow.
It's really funny, and it's kind of like a reverse world.
Yeah, it's definitely reverse, man.
Now let me ask you a question, all right? Just to be devil's advocate in this conversation, just to find balance. Now, a lot of people out there will say something like, "Well, you guys broke the law, blah blah blah. You don't deserve as much comforts, quote unquote." Now, mind you, I'm not for that kind of train of thought, but for the people out there who would say something like that, how would you reply to them?
I think when you put it like that, you're trying to say that ends justify the means kind of thing. But then you look at organizations like PETA, where they see dogs being abused and they're standing up and fighting for that. But yet you see a human being being abused, and you saying that, well, he broke the law, he deserves it.
Right.
To me, that is not right, because we're still human beings.
Human beings, yeah.
Yes, we broke the law, but should I now be judged by that one mistake in my life? Am I now forever defined by that moment in time in my life? So there's no redeemable qualities in me that you should care about.
No, I agree.
I mean, because at the end of the day, we all human beings. I made a mistake. But who out there can say that they never broke the law? Who can say that you never ran a stoplight?
Just never got caught.
You never just slowed down and eased out and then see that there's nobody around and you peeled off and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or when you was a kid, you never stole a piece of bubble gum?
Yeah.
Or anything like that?
That's a good point.
You never smoked marijuana? Yeah, you never smoked marijuana with your friends? So we've all broke the law at some point in time in my life. The difference between me and you is I got caught.
Got caught, yeah.
You did. Yeah, see, that's the difference. But at the end of the day, you can make fun of those things, but it's all about humanity. When you start ostracizing people and marginalizing people and disenfranchising people, and now you're making them a total different subculture, now they're going to act according to their rules and what they can do. Because you can't do that. You can't live.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Live in a society that has one rules for you and one rules for me. Because then I'm not going to adhere to your rules because you're not even including me in your conversation at first like that.
Now, let me.
I'm 15 up. We're going to call right back. We're going to check in back with y'all.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and call back.
Right back, brother.
Yeah, this is again. This is our third part series. I hope everybody's been tuning in so far, staying with us. This is an important topic that we here at Hip Hop Rewind and Then Some find it very important. You know what I'm saying? X, he brought in his uncle on our first show. He gave us a lot of insight. Who was with his uncle? I forget the gentleman's name.
Jerry
was
Gray.
with him.
Mr. Jerry Gray.
Last week or the week before that, you was with
Same brothers, Tone and Raheem.
Tone and Raheem, absolutely. They're gonna call back. Anyone out there who has any questions that you would like to present to Tone and Raheem, shout out to everybody who's tuning in right now. Please feel free to leave your questions in the comment sections. We're gonna take a moment to ask them. But honestly, today's just a continuation of last week's show. We want to give these gentlemen an opportunity to speak their minds. As you can see, they're time limited, so it's not necessarily like we want to bombard them with questions, because obviously this is an opportunity for them to share with the real that's going on out there. Is he back online?
1 second.
So yeah, absolutely. We want to thank everybody who has been part of this 3-part journey. And then obviously in the future we're gonna have more conversations just like this. I know one of them is coming out soon. Who?
Juan, it was ironic that you asked that question because today in our meeting, we kind of like was addressing that, and one of our members was saying like, well, if you treat people like animals, are you surprised that they act like animals?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point.
So if you gotta, society has to determine who they want to come home. An angry person that has been tortured and abused and punished all the while he's been incarcerated, or do you want someone who is treated with respect, that was treated with kindness and things like that, so he can be transformed in a way that he's thinking how he sees society? Because at the end of the day, these guys are coming home and they're coming to your communities.
Now you know what? Like I don't want to speak out of turn because obviously I haven't experienced that lifestyle, but I mean I feel as if like the way it's set up is as if they want to have it in a way where you guys never come home. I think there's infractions.
Yeah.
There's infractions for everything you guys do, and I think it's purposely done that way. Like you were saying earlier. You know what I'm saying? The prison industry is a business.
Yeah.
And you can't have businesses without
people being inside.
People being inside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
but how they remedy that situation is what they do is they create tough on you laws.
Right.
Right.
They give you more time. They give you more mandatory minimums on your time. So what you're doing is you're
shout out Joe Biden.
People longer in prison.
Dead ass though. Dead ass.
It kind of gives you the impression that the crime is out of control. But the truth of the matter is you're just keeping people longer.
Right.
Other people are getting locked up. So prison numbers continue to grow up. So it's an artificial number. It's like being fudged. The numbers are being fudged because people are like, oh, there's so many people locked up because they're doing a lot of bad stuff. But that's not true. Statistics prove that crime rates aren't increasing.
Right.
They're actually decreasing. But because you're keeping people longer in prison, it gives you the misnomer or the underthinking that more people are being incarcerated. And that's definitely not it. That's not how they maintain their numbers.
Now we have a question.
Good numbers by not letting me out.
Right.
We have a question from one of our loyal listeners here, someone who's been a part of the show from the very beginning. He asks, do you think that society should consider the nature of the crime? So, for instance, drug charge versus manslaughter? And also, what about the families who have lost loved ones to violent crimes?
Right. Well, to address it, when they said they consider the crime of us, society, should they consider the crime that we committed? The society, is what you're saying? If I'm not be more clear on that?
Well, yeah, society. Do you think society should consider the nature of the crime? So, let's say, basically what they're saying, a non-violent crime versus a violent crime.
Right. Okay, what happens is the nature of a person's crime is never going to change. You know what I mean? But that person can change.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Good
So,
point.
for instance, you're saying, so if I sell drugs, I may always sell drugs, or that's gonna be the crime of choice. Is that what you're saying? Like if
Can you repeat that for me again?
So just for clarity's sake, so when you're saying the crime itself may not change, but the person may.
Right.
So if my crime of choice is selling drugs, I'm always gonna sell drugs. I may not necessarily be a drug dealer or a murderer or a serial killer. I mean, just for clarity, I'm trying to understand that.
No, what I mean by that is, while a person is in prison, he can become proactive in his own rehabilitation and transformation.
Right.
So how that means that his values and morals are now being changed while he's in prison. So the person that he was coming in, he's not that person coming out.
Gotcha.
So the things that he did, he would no longer do.
Right.
But to come home and still be labeled a drug dealer for a prior act.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just to throw a label on a person. See, there's a theory that saying that labeling of people kind of like forces that people into that direction.
Right.
You constantly say, oh, you're a bad guy, you're bad, you're this and you're that. They say, well, I'm not, but I might as well be since you think I'm that guy anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So society has to now take some kind of accountability of how they choose to treat an individual that is returning home, having paid his debt to society.
Right.
Once he gets his time, that is considered the punitive aspect of his crime. This is his debt paid back to society.
You paid your debt now, just move on. Right.
Absolutely, but what society chooses to do is now to create what they consider invisible hurdles. So now, because I have a record, or I'm being a felon, I can no longer apply for housing.
Right.
I can no longer apply for different. I can't go for different jobs. So now you're making it hard for me to succeed.
Right.
In the name of justice.
Right.
Now,
in this guy, you're surrounding it in the terms of, this is just the repercussion of what you did. But at the end of the day, society has to decide, like, am I just going to be that unforgiving?
Right.
Am I just going to hold him to that? You know, because there's programs where we meet with the victims of the crimes and we allow them to express how they felt.
Right.
And things like that. It's called violent focus on the victim. The victims come in and they're allowed to express how they feel being victimized and things like that, which gives us a greater understanding of our actions. Because a lot of things that we do, we're not conscious of the ripple effects of that action or that individual. So now you get a picture of that, what's going on, you know. But I just wish people just learn to, you know, that there are always redeemable qualities in everybody. And although I've made a mistake, I don't want to be defined by that moment and period in my life.
You should.
Where though I was even, you know, and that's the whole thing. Once they understand that, like, okay, he paid his debt to society, now let him get on with his life.
They won't let you,
though. At the end of the day, it's like a form of slavery again.
Yeah.
Now you start, these black codes, it's like black codes all over again. Now you locking me up for vagrancy. Now you locking me up for laundering. All of these rules that was meant to put me in custody in order to maintain the status quo.
Right. That's
now let me ask you a question. Going back to what you said, you said you guys meet with the with families of some of these crimes and whatnot. Are you able to share with us any kind of a particular story or event where someone came across somebody who, you know, may have perpetrated a crime towards their family, like how that experience played out?
What you mean, like, have we ever met the actual victim of our crime?
Well, maybe not you per se, but anyone within your organization or your group. Has there ever been a moment of forgiveness? Like, you know, because I've seen, you know, court cases where, let's say, the father of the victim forgives the criminal, for instance, right? You know, you see these every so often. Have you ever encountered that yourself, and how was that environment?
Well, that's like I just said, that's an actual program that the Department of Corrections has that allows victims of certain crime, maybe not of your crime, but crime victims that comes in. And this is a way, this is a cathartic moment for them. This allows them to vent their pain of being victimized or being robbed or raped or this, that, and the third, and they're allowed to express with the inmates how this affected not just them but their family as well. Right. And the whole purpose of them is to allow us a moment of clarity and of introspection and retrospection, that we can look back and say, you know what, I was wrong in what I did, and if I could, I would like to seek their forgiveness, but certain crimes you can't.
can't,
no
yeah.
coming back from that.
Right.
Because if you take somebody's life, who are you going to ask forgiveness for
Yeah.
or from?
Yeah.
But other crimes, you may be able to do that because sometimes they ask us to write letters to the victim families,
Right.
and so that if they would like to hear from you, they can actually read the letter through the prosecutor's office or something like that.
Right.
But everybody's really not open up to that because they don't want to forgive you for taking their family member's life.
Yeah.
So you can actually be ripping up. Because what excuse can you really give for what you've done?
Exactly.
You can't justify taking another human being's life. There is no way
form.
that I can make an amends for that.
No.
The only thing I can actually do is now come do it so that nobody else will have to suffer the kind of pain that I placed that person through by allowing me to become a positive force in somebody else's life.
Right.
And that's kind of like all that we're going to do now. And that's why they had like the Lifers group here at East Jersey State Prison. That's what they were known for. You know, are known for intervening and doing intervention and prevention kind of strategies and things like that.
Right.
But
Now let me ask you, how do you feel about that? Like I never thought, me personally, giving someone life behind prison, like I don't know, like it's just saying like there's no hope for them. Do you feel like some of these men are too far gone, like where there's no hope for rehabilitation or for them to come back from that kind of like place they were once in?
I think my opinion, rehabilitation doesn't work. And the reason why I believe rehabilitation doesn't work because what are you actually rehabbing this person to? What? Poverty?
Right.
A drug-infested neighborhood? Child abuse? What are you actually rehabbing? Because first of all, you don't know who this person is. You don't know where he came from. So how are you going to send him back, a whole person, and you haven't even addressed the whole person? Everything that they're trying to do is all superficial. It's all about learning these particular things. But a person that has been transformed by the way that he thinks, where he begins to have an opportunity to heal from the things that happened to him in his past that's causing him to act like that.
Wow.
You know, because a lot of people is not understanding that a lot of things that we're going through, we inherit these things.
Right.
We inherit poverty. We inherited inequity. We inherit racial biases. These are all the things that we inherit in our lives.
Right.
And people handle them different ways.
Right.
But until that person begins to understand and to educate himself, then there's no way he can get better. So rehabilitation in my book doesn't work. A person should concentrate more on being transformed in the way that he thinks, to have him change his morals and his values and his views of that. That way, now he would come more in line with society.
Wow.
So that's kind of like how I see it. I won't put tone on because I kind of like take up a lot of time and like that, but I would like the audience to get a chance to hear tone perspective. So I'm going to put it on. I really appreciate you guys' time, and I appreciate all the love that y'all been showing us since we've been in touch with you guys.
Word.
Absolutely.
Stay safe out there.
Well said,
Yes,
brother.
sir. Yeah, you too,
man.
brother.
Hey,
Yo.
what's going on?
Tone, what's
brother?
going on with you, brother?
Hey,
Tone, welcome.
I'll pick up right off where he was talking about as far as rehabilitation is concerned.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't take into consideration is that, and this isn't my original thought, it was actually a former First Lady, I believe, that spoke on this. I want to say,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
oh, we're about to wrap. We call it back?
Call us back, brother.
Yeah, call back. You know what I'm saying? We got a couple more
Hold on.
questions.
Call us back.
Yeah, so once again, man, we got Tone on the line. He's going to call us back. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
This is raw and uncut, man. Straight from prison. You know what I'm saying? We want to bring you the people who are actually living this reforms. You know, we want to change a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? But we're from the outside looking in.
Right.
We want to hear from the people who are actually in it, who are in the trenches, working there, working with the prison industry to make changes. You know, Tone is one of them, and what's the other gentleman's name? I'm sorry. Sorry, guy, man. My mind's a little hazy, but yeah. Raheem and Tone are both two gentlemen who are deeply involved in this movement. So we do appreciate them taking the time, and you know, their commissary money to call us and, you know, putting them minutes towards this podcast.
An inmate at East Jersey State Prison. This call will be monitored and recorded.
1 second, folks.
Collection procedures or to block future calls, dial 1-866-230-7761. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, thank you for using Global Tel Link.
He's back, people.
Yes. Welcome back, Tone.
Hello?
What I was saying was, you can't rehabilitate someone. In order to say someone needs to be rehabilitated, you have to first say that they were habilitated.
Right.
And so that means that a person
Was normal.
adhered to the social norms of his neighborhood,
Right.
and learned different morals and values that allowed him to be somebody, a successful, productive member of society.
Right.
But when you come up in a neighborhood where all of the social institutions and structures have been broken down, and that you're coming up under a socio-economic oppression, when the school system that you're going to is underfunded and lacks resources,
Still
when
is.
your family structure itself is broken down, then you're not being socialized into the normal way of what people consider life in
Right.
society. So you don't have all of those same norms. You don't have all of those same values. We're actually, a lot of us that are in prisons were raised under a different value system, a subculture of the street.
Right.
And so the mentality and the values that a lot of people take up are those of survival. And so we're trying to, how do we figure out how to survive? And so when you don't have that positive male role model in your life, or when the matriarch of the family is not able to instill those values either because she's at work trying to support the household, who then are you turning to listen to?
Right.
Because now when you're going to a school, you're not learning anything from there except this pun is intended, but like a whitewashed version of education and history.
Absolutely.
You're not getting the real structural.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
What? Oh,
Now-
yeah. So the point of saying all this, so a person commits an act of violence, they commit a murder, they do a robbery, an arson, they sell drugs, whatever it is that they do. We're not saying you can't, that person shouldn't be held accountable. But what's being said is this, is now, this person did whatever he did or she did, and they end up in prison. What do you do with that person now? Because the reality is, 95% of the people in prison are getting out. So who's going to return, and how are you going to help that person return? Because just last week, there was a brother that got released from prison. His name is Angelo Speciale. And he was released, and he had no one to go to, right? So they scheduled him to go to a shelter in Bergen County. Now, when the officer brought him to the shelter said, we said that there was no bed space here. We told the prison that there was no bed space here. You know what the officer's response was? He says, well, I don't care about all that. I was just told to drop him off. And he turned around and left.
Wow.
And left the guy there.
That's
Not knowing
insane.
this guy was going to have any type of housing, any type of resources. Now, luckily, this guy, the counselor at the Bergen shelter said, you know what, I'm going to try to find you some space, and eventually got him into a shelter in Patterson. But let's just say he wasn't able to do that. Now you got DOC just leaving this man on the street.
Yeah.
And if he has nowhere to go, what is he going to resort to?
Crime.
The only thing he knows.
Absolutely.
But then when he goes to commit a robbery and goes right back to prison, the newspaper articles are not going to tell you all that backstory.
They're going to just say...
They're just going to say violent criminal goes right back to prison.
Yep.
And so these are the things that are really just not considered. Like, you can't look at things in a vacuum. And honestly, like, if your tax dollars are paying for these prisons, don't you really want to know what's going on in these prisons and how your money's being spent?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like to know.
Because really, it's being, I mean, this prison that we're in right now is a money pit. Like, it shouldn't even be open.
Wow.
Literally, like,
So-
the condition of this prison is ridiculous.
So
Like, every time it rains, it's raining inside.
Whoa.
There's no hot water in the cells. Like, Yeah, there's no ventilation in the cell. Like, there's really nothing. This prison should have been shut down. And not only that, it's just so old. And, like, there's close to probably $1 million spent every year just maintaining this prison through maintenance and repairs and stuff like that.
Please don't tell you got rats in there,
so,
man.
Huh?
So please tell you don't got rats running around.
Rats?
Yeah.
Well, we got all that. Rats,
Oh,
spiders,
man.
roaches.
Oh, man.
Listen, I remember when I first went into Trenton, and they sent you to 7 Wing. You get greeted by rats.
Oh!
Like, what you doing here, homie? What set you playing?
Is you serious in your cell? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listen,
man. Nah, can't do that, man.
And not all the prisons are like this. I'm not gonna sit here and say that. However, most of the stuff that's done in this prison is kept up by the prisoners. We go around doing stuff to make sure this prison doesn't just fall apart.
Right.
They do most of the work. Yet DOC is gonna go and get contracts and get all this money to say they're doing all this work, but they never really do it.
Somebody pocketing that money, man.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Somebody pocketing that money, man.
Oh, listen, all this stuff is about, like, we all know, like, it ain't no secret, all this stuff is about money. But the funny thing is this, is that if society were to really pay attention, they would understand that the criminal justice system is really just about the money, and that it's always funny that rehabilitation always comes into play when certain people are now caught up in crimes. Like, all of a sudden now you want to worry about the opioid crisis because some rich white people are now being caught up.
They changed the
That's
name.
it.
They
That
changed the
is
name to
it.
opioids. It's supposed to be
That is
heroin.
it.
They call it opioid. What the heck is opioid?
Yeah.
Opioids. They give their own word for that, man.
They use the scientific meaning.
Yeah.
Like, now, it was the same thing. You know, the same thing happened with weed. When marijuana first came into this country, it was mostly poor and actually indigenous people, Mexicans and stuff like that. They're just coming into the country. Most of them had marijuana, and they were locking them up for it. Then they started to make the crimes a little lighter, like especially in the flower power era, when a lot of the rich white kids were going around smoking weed, and these sponsors are getting caught and getting arrested. Now the rich white parents, they have their connections, so they make all these little backdoor deals and say, you know what, let's start decriminalizing certain things. Let's start lessening the offenses, because I ain't trying to have my kids locked up all this time.
Absolutely.
For just smoking some weed, so they changed the laws with that. And so they do this when the rich community, when the upper echelon, they start getting affected by these different policies, then they will begin to change them.
Right.
And so it's like there you have two justice systems working. Like, they created this law. You know what felony murder is?
No.
Felony murder is a way for prosecutors to give people a life sentence for a murder they did not commit.
Wow.
That's exactly what it is. And so what it does is this, is if me, you, and Juan go to a store, and you guys are sitting in the car, and I go into the store and rob the store and kill the clerk, and I come out, and you guys give me a ride somewhere, you are now both accomplices to that murder.
Wow.
And they hold you responsible for the death of that person.
And I can get life.
So now the prosecutor can you can get a life sentence for just being in the car.
Hell no.
You didn't even commit the murder.
Hell no.
So now you're getting it. So
insane.
here I am, and I'm talking about myself. So specifically, I have a felony murder charge. So here I am sitting in prison for 30 years because I was part of a robbery that went bad.
Dang.
Now I can't excuse the loss of life, and I can't give that back. I can't do anything, right? So I'm never going to sit here and say I don't deserve time.
Right.
I definitely deserve time.
Now let me ask you a question, because I mean, listen, you sound like a reasonable person. So by you saying that, you know what I'm saying, over the past 2 years, we've been hearing defund the police, defund prisons and all this other stuff. Like, do you think that's a proper recourse for everything that we're speaking of? Is like defunding these institutions the right move?
Are you saying defund the police? Is that a good thing to defund the police department?
Would you say that's a good thing, or is that something that we should consider?
No. Well, listen. Here's what I say about this. I mean, when it comes to law enforcement in general, right? As far as defunding the police, I think that was a terrible word, a terrible phrase that they used because this kind of misleads people into believing that they're getting rid of police departments all over the country.
They did that for a reason, so you can protest it. That's why they did that. They called it that.
Yeah, Exactly. So like if you like we actually work with people that are part of departments. But check this story out, right? There's a brother by the name of Damian Stackhouse, right? He got arrested this time in prison. Now he got out.
Right.
The same officer that arrested him is the chief of police in Somerset County. When Stackhouse got out, he snatched him up and put him in charge of a social service department that is now being created inside of the police department.
Wow.
So when and that was part of this so-called defund the police. Really what it was is let's divert some resources to now begin to focus on the social service aspect of dealing with the communities.
Wow.
That's what defunding the police is really about, but a lot of people don't understand that. They just think, oh, they're taking all the police off the street. No, they're trying to find different ways to engage the human beings that they're supposed to be serving and protecting in the communities.
Right.
And so just like Kenny's sister, his sister is part of the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery Unit.
Right.
Right, in Newark. And so now what happens is with each class of police that come through the academy, they also have social workers that will come through with them.
Right.
So now you have social workers that are part of law enforcement as well, so that they can go and respond to, let's say, a domestic violence charge, or let's say, for instance, the brother down in Miami, I forget his name, but I think this happened down in Miami, where he was a special needs guy, and the officers responded to the incident, and they ended up killing him and shooting him.
Yeah.
People are around sitting there telling the officers, like, no, he's crazy, he doesn't know what he's doing, just wait for the, I think they said they had called a caseworker, social worker, something, but they didn't wait, they ended up murdering him right there.
Wow.
So this is the point, like, the funding the police, part of that is really just about diverting some of the resources to focus on social services.
Gotcha.
And taking away the tanks that you've been buying to push into the hood.
All right.
Like, you're spending all this money militarizing the police force for what?
For what?
You're dealing with people you're supposed to be protecting and serving. You're not dealing with enemy combatants. You're not going into a war zone.
Right.
You need law enforcement. You need prisons. You need a criminal justice system.
Well
all we're
said,
saying
brother.
is that you need to deal with the same way. Look, I know people probably watch cops before. How many times, and I've seen this in my own neighborhoods, where police will respond to a drunk white person, let's say, on their property. He's out there waving a bat around at people. They're not shooting them. Calm down, sir. Sir, could you please calm down? Just tell us what the problem is, sir. And eventually they might pull out a taser and tase him, maybe.
Not me.
Take him to jail as people bail him out the same night. But you let that be a black person out there swinging, forget swinging a bat around, reaching for their phone or reaching for their wallet,
He's
they're
shot.
getting murdered.
He's done.
And so this is the thing. Like, when you got to look at it and see that, and the evidence is there about how poor minority people, all of their actions are criminalized.
Right.
So when you go into a poor neighborhood, they over-police these neighborhoods as well. So you'll have, let's say, all these police running around one little tiny neighborhood that may be 2 square blocks, and you got 100 police out there. And every little action that somebody does, they're getting arrested for and introduced to the criminal justice system. Whereas if I live in, let's say, Cherry Hill somewhere, and I get caught vandalizing something, I'm not even making it into handcuffs.
No.
They're sending me home. They might hold me in the car, maybe, until my parents come get me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the same amount of, listen, I've been in some of these neighborhoods, right? And even when I was down in Florida, I've been in some gated communities, and there's more drugs and guns there than I've seen on the block.
Wow.
Seriously.
Much drugs in these
Yeah.
gated communities.
Wow.
And so, but you don't see the police kicking their door in.
No.
You know what's crazy about what you just said, though? I personally knew a dude. He was actually labeled a kingpin. He was caught with all kinds of drugs. I mean, anything under the sun. And he got away with it. I don't know how he got away with it. But I guess he had the right complexion. He got the right to complexion. He was part of the white is right club. And I'm surprised, like, every time I see something like this, like, either you snitch or you just got the right connections in the system. And if you got that, you get away with you get away with murder in this country.
No, you can. And let me give you an example of something, right? And I don't know that
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Real quick, before, yeah, you definitely call back because we got to get into your song. We want to give a quick shout out to Linda Clenendine. She's been giving you shout outs all this time. She said, shout out my brother. Give a shout out to your mom. Say hi for her. Say hi to her from her. So, Linda, thank you very much for tuning in. Tone is definitely going to call back. We're going to get into his song. Tone, we're here.
All right. Yeah, it's almost 2 o'clock, right? I got to roll up.
Yes, y'all. Thank you very much for tuning in. Everybody on Instagram, shout out to RMI, shout out to Fully Focused, shout out to Quasimo, shout out to Effie Media, shout out to Baddest, Be the Baddest. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Again, today's about prison reform. This is our 3-part series. I hope everybody's been enjoying so far the information we've been providing. We want to say thank you to all our guests so far. Definitely thank you to Rashad Muhammad for his connecting us with Tone and Ra.
Definitely.
You know, these two gentlemen are doing great things inside the prison. Obviously, you know, it sucks that they're in there, but you know, they're using their time productively and making sure that, you know, to the best of their ability, they could try to prevent, you know, future incidents for young men and women out there that need their help. So, again, Tone, Rod, thank you very much. Everybody else who's been on our show thus far, thank you very much. Everybody who's tuning in, once again, Linda, thank you so much. So yeah, stay tuned. We're about to play their. You know, these guys are working on a project. Shad, do you know the name of their project?
No. Hey, what's the name of your project, bro?
What happened?
What's the name of your project?
Oh, our project is called Thinking Outside the Cell Initiative, TOSI for short.
That's what's up. We about to play your song, man. Matter of fact, introduce your song and tell us about your song, man.
Oh, this song is called, now this is for, we have a project called Let's Make a Change, and we're shooting a short gun violence film.
Right.
A film on gun violence, and this song is actually part of the soundtrack that me and Damaj created in here. And we're just trying to speak to this issue of gun violence in our communities and give different views and different sides of it to show how it impacted us when we were on the street, how it led us to prison, but also how it affects our communities and the roles that we can take in actually changing that and being agents of change to actually help decrease gun violence in our communities. And this song is called Time for War. This one is really about people waking up and taking action and acknowledging the systemic and structural things that are in place that create hate and create division. And if you have hate and division, there's no way you can really make a change because you're going to be working against each other instead of with each other.
Right. We pumping it now, brother.
Here we go. From the top.
Facing oppression, hey. One nation with two different faces, feel like we regressing, hey. It ain't never equal, but my people treat it much lesser, hey. You claim that you serve and protect while you come in aggressive, hey. Open your eyes, notice the menace and lies. We take it and cover with lies. Don't you see why? We are protesting, I get that it's somehow deluding they rhyme. Laws and love, police only get fined. Even convicted, but they try to hide it. Seek inequality, we try to fight it. Yeah. Time for war, time for peace. What do I do with this blood in the streets? Oh what? A time for love, a time for hate. What do I choose with the gun in my face? Who knows? Who knows? Time to stand, a time to step. What do I do with your knee over that what? Hey, the time is here, it's time to heal. Man, never had time to heal. Who knows? Yeah. Damn. How can could I not be confused and conflicted? Listen, you tell me I'm free, it's clear your mission to keep me in prison. Keep me a victim, keep me from lifting my head up and clearing my vision. Clear you don't want me to see what I'm missing. See that I'm living the truth that you twisted. Scream for my pain, lift up my voice, you meet it with silence. The freedom of speech, we give you our speech, you meet it with violence. Hard to be silent. Like people keep dying, these mothers keep crying. We do that, we riot. You shouldn't be shot. I don't see where all this confusion is lying. You have been violent. Killed for this land and they giving it back. You have been lying since day one. You give us these rights and keep ripping them back. And you have been violent. This hate that you give, we ain't living with that. Lift up my voice and I give you this rap. Really don't matter, my skin isn't black. Time for war, time for peace. What do I do with this blood in the streets? Oh what, oh what? A time for love, a time for hate. What do I choose? Which gun in my face? Who knows? Who knows? No. Time to stand, a time to step. What do I do? What you need over there? Oh what? Hey, the time to see, it's time to heal. Man, never had time to heal. No. Yeah.
All right. So the world premiere. That's what's fire, bro. That's what's up, man. Yo, but we're gonna close out in a minute, but hey, what you wanna close out with, brother? Floor is yours, man.
Look, if they wanna get a free download of that song, they can go to thinkoutsidethecell@gmail.com. thinkoutsidethecell@gmail.com.
That's what's up, man.
Word up.
Yeah, they go get that song, man, and then there's gonna be more to come. We're gonna be posting stuff up there, man. Look, we're really just trying to do this, man. We're working with a brother from the mayor's office named Tariq Anke, man.
Okay.
Shout out Tariq. Yeah, absolutely.
The music. And he's going to be helping us out, put our stuff together, man, so we're going to be holding an event next year sometime, really, at Keene College and Rutgers University. That's going to be showcasing the short film.
Right.
And everything that we're doing with this project that we're doing in here. It's like an art therapy program where we're using poetry, art, and music to challenge guys the way they think about gun violence and show them where their personal responsibility is out, so that when they do get out, they can be those agents of change in the community. Because some of the guys that we work with used to be, they used to be known for that in the hoods that they come from, whether they were banging or not. They were known for gunplay and known for being violent individuals, but they changed their lives around. So now they can go out there and be that positive force and tell kids to put the guns down.
That's what's up, brother. Well said.
Working with there's a church we actually work with called the Rock Fellowship, pastored by Ray Dash. He actually goes into the projects and stuff out there in Newark to minister to the brothers out there that are on the street. So we're just doing it. We're trying to work it. I think that's our initiative. Hopefully next time we can have some words from our brother Demise. And anybody that wants to give love or support, just hit that email, that Gmail up, man, and give your love for that and your support for that. We got a lot of people that are riding with us. And man, as always, X and brother Juan, man, we appreciate y'all, man.
Hey, appreciate
yes,
you, man.
Sir. Yes, sir.
All right, brother, man. So we talk. We're gonna definitely help promote you, man.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
You got a home here, man. Got a home here, brother,
right, man. We love you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Look forward to this next podcast, man, and another podcast. We get a nice little series going, get more people listening in. Anyone listening today, man, make sure you support these brothers. Make sure that you write in, dial in, email in. Let them know if you got any questions or topics, anything you want to discuss. And man, let's get to it, man. Let's start having this conversation.
Absolutely,
brother, man.
Absolutely.
All right, brother, man.
Well,
so we'll wrap with you, man.
That's another show in the books. Episode 6 down. We are 3. Our journey of prison reform has officially come to a conclusion for this time around. We want to thank everybody who has tuned in. X, let them know how they can get in contact with us.
You can hit us up at Hip Hop Rewind and then some at gmail.com.
Yes.
Hip Hop Rewind on our Instagram and our Facebook page, man. So with that being said, man, we out.
We out.
Hip hop.